Hello, my name is Claudia, and I am responsible at Bosch for global sales to fleet customers, mobility, and logistics service providers. And thanks for the warm welcome. We will talk today about Fleet Data Unleashed and how we transform data into real valuable insights and also then into money. So I guess that you all know Bosch. Maybe you have a dishwasher, maybe you have some power tools, but I guess the crowd over here also knows us from being one of the biggest automotive suppliers. And it's true. I mean, in nearly every vehicle over there on the globe, you can find Bosch technology, be it hardware, be it sensors, be it computing power. But that's not why we are today here at Move UK. Today, we are here because we are bringing our expertise beyond the vehicle to fleets. Now, what does Bosch deliver? Bosch delivers a seamless combination of vehicle expertise, fleet intelligence, and integrated services. We know the vehicle inside out, and that is what we build upon if we deliver services that make you know more, act smarter, and drive value for your entire fleet. But see for yourself.
With Bosch, you know more, act smarter, and drive value. We help keep fleets up and running with vehicle expertise, fleet intelligence, and integrated services. Predictive maintenance and real-time diagnostics detect early signs of failure before they become a problem or fix it fast. We enable higher resale value through transparent vehicle condition monitoring, smarter energy use, help reduce emissions, and ease the transition to EVs. Bosch Mobility Fleet Solutions. Let's keep fleets up and running. Let's move like a Bosch.
Yeah. So, before we deep dive today into a specific case that we brought, real example from real life, maybe I will elaborate a little bit more on what it means when we say act smarter. No, does it work? Yeah, know more, act smarter, and drive value. So knowing more means having more control and predictability across your fleet. Having the transparency on what is going on is the first step into acting more intelligently and more quickly, which is then the second step. Act no more, act smarter. To act smarter means that you have information up front, you can be quicker, you have intelligent actions, and through our solutions, we enable predictive maintenance and smart service workflows that help you keep your vehicles in your fleet up and running to reduce downtime and therefore reduce cost. And finally, drive value, which means that we make the value of your vehicles in the end high, the residual value. If you do predictive maintenance and take care of your vehicles, we help protect your assets. We take care of total ownership, total cost of ownership. And that is what we will see in a minute with various examples. Now, these promises, know more, act smarter, and drive value, they come to life in 5 solution clusters, which you see here. It's maintenance and repair, condition and value, fleet safety, fleet sustainability, and service enablement. If you have joined our theater session yesterday, you have seen some real customer examples, how they have experienced certain services in these different clusters and what they got out of it. For example, the vehicle care assistant, which helps you do intelligent maintenance and saves several thousands of pounds or euros or dollars, wherever you are, in vehicle residual value. Or the example of retrofit efficiency module that we also had yesterday in the theater session that saves in average 4% of energy if you have cruise control on the vehicle. But today, actually, we want to focus on one specific service, which is our ride care service. It's an AI-enabled service that detects smoke, damage, harsh driving, and more. And I brought one of our partners today with me, who will show you in a minute how ridecare helps improve claim collection rates, enhance experience of customers, of users, and reduce risks and protects your assets. So with that being said, I would like to welcome Boris from Starcar on stage. Boris is working at Starcar and is doing a lot of things. He's responsible for maintenance, for fleet repair, for procurement, and many more things. I think, Boris, you will say a few words on your own. So welcome on stage. Happy to have you here.
Thanks, Claudia. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the welcome. Always a pleasure to be in London. Let's introduce myself a little bit. I'm working right now for more than 20 years in the mobility industry, working from short-term rentals, meaning car sharing, rentals, car subscription, let's say from a minute-based rental to really 36, 48 months rental leasing. And I'm right now 2 years with Starcar Europa Service Group and as a director of fleet for the whole group. And let's give a short introduction of Starcar. Maybe 2 or 3 words more to Starcar. We are right now handling about 25,000 vehicles per year in nearly 110 stations in Germany. I believe we are one of the most fastest growing companies, rental growing companies in Germany. 3 years ago, we only have 30 rental stations. Right now, we are up to 110 rental stations. We are doing business in car subscription, car rental. We have licensees, franchisees in 6 European countries. We are also do car trading with nearly 8,000 to 9,000 vehicles per year. We also have a lot of franchisees and focus on short-term and long-term rentals. And that's, let's say, our core business, and that's, I believe, a good combination together with Bosch to, let's say, have a short glimpse of what ridecare and rental business and car subscription could work.
Yeah. So, and as I, coming from Bosch, could tell you anything about our services, we thought it's good to have Boris here so he can explain from his experience how ridecare helped him transforming data into real intelligence and in the end into real money. Yeah. So Boris, my first question to you would be,
yes.
Why did you choose to bring ridecare to Starcar?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, as I mentioned before, I was before in car sharing business. In car sharing business, we started this cooperation in 2017. With my former employees, and therefore it was much clear out of the comments, out of the customer satisfaction, it was quite clear you don't have so many touch points physically to the car. That means you have to have a holistic view at the car. You need to have the status of the car. Out of the comments, it was quite clear. Mainly the comments were complaints about the cleanliness, mainly cleanliness about smoking. Cars, a lot of people smoked in the car, cars were not so clean. People have always a fear to be charged for damages which were not directly marked at the car, so that was one of the main points to get in cooperation with Bosch and to do it. Right now, I'm with a rental company, and the question is, and that's important, why we do it right now at Starcar Europa Service. We want to have a complete holistic approach of the car, meaning we want to have a data-driven approach, meaning the status of the car is quite important. Even if we do physical checks with the cars, we need to have an info what's happening with the cars, what are the customers doing with the cars. And if it comes to mileage, if it comes to service, not always the correct data inside, people are driving longer, we don't have the right mileage, so mean a lot of risk for us to charge it completely to the customers. And another important point is what costs can we influence? Of course, we have the normal costs, talking about taxes, talking about registration fees and so on. That are the costs you cannot influence. And even talking about leasing costs and so on, you can have 1 or 2% more or less, depending on, but that is not, let's say, the main point to influence costs for the fleet. And we really thought about the other approach. And the other approach right now was start a project with different providers. How can we detect damages, smoking, and so on, and the status of the car? Why we choose Bosch was quite easy. We had a really quick and easy installation for the devices. Yeah, it was done within 15 minutes, the installation within 10 minutes. Even our staff at the stations can do it on our own. Yeah, that was one important point because utilization, downtime is one main driven, let's say, KPIs in our business. Speed on the whole process, speed on the whole industry. Yeah. We have a user-friendly Bosch data-driven portal where we can really say, okay, we combined it with our rental program, with our rental system, where we can automatically charge the customers, meaning if we detect a smoking detection, if we can detect a damage at the car, we can directly charge it to the customer. That was a big advantage, really, to do it in this way, and that was one of the reasons why we choose Bosch. And of course, one of the last points we've got, which is really, really important, we're going for a win-win situation together with Bosch as a partner. We improve the performance of the devices. We develop further, as you already mentioned, further things for these dongle, for these data we've got out of the car, and that was the main reasons why we choose Bosch.
Okay, perfect. And you really managed to transform or transfer the information into real money.
Correct. Of course, that's yeah, the main point. Because we are a mid-sized company, we cannot do so many tests. We have to earn money with the device. That's clearly the point. Yes, of course.
So, Boris, what were the most interesting or most surprising findings that you have?
Yeah. The main interesting findings. It's quite interesting how many smoking, harsh driving, and damage detections you've got during the pilot and during the live phase. Yeah, and I believe one of the main points was really an eye-opener to us. We started in average the first 5 months this year with 350 vehicles in average. Yeah, with 350 vehicles in average, we nearly detected 9,000 smoking events. 9,000. Yeah. We charged, I believe, right now at this point. I took a look at the numbers today. Nearly 700 customers for smoking. Yeah, so meaning 700 customers smoked in our cars. Yeah, we implemented the cross-border detection. Yeah, so meaning really tracking the cars if they cross the borders. We find 100 cross-border. Cars driving over the border, crossing about the border in 1 month, yeah, and we really have a 5-digit number of harsh driving events and such harsh driving events, which, let's give me a short example, people who are driving 130, 140 kilometers in a 30-kilometer zone. That means for us a big risk for insurance reasons, and these are even the customers we don't want to have in the car rental industry, but in the whole mobility industry. Yeah, even in car sharing, even in car subscription, this is a big risk also for insurance. Yeah. Other finding was quite clear. Even with the smoking, we let's say the business case was even let's say calculating only with the smoking case what we charge to the customers. And another real interesting finding was the events outside the rentals, meaning you have the rental contract, you're always expecting, okay, there's something happening during the rental events, but what we see, even outside the rental events, there's something happening. People are smoking in the cars, people are driving with the cars. That means our service providers, our partners, and even our employers use the cars during or outside our rental period. And that means also a risk for us. And we're detecting some fraudulent behavior here. And that's also a big advantage and a big positive aspect I have to mention. Yeah, customers will directly pay after the reports. And as I mentioned, we identify the drivers during the rental and outside the rental we don't want to have, and even the partners.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So people might say, I do not want to be tracked and I do not want to be watched. What would your customers and your teammates say about rideshare?
Yeah, as always, if you're introducing something new, people are quite skeptic. Yeah, another dongle, another test, what should we do? But during the pilot, we really got a good feedback from our people at the counter because it was an easy installation. It was an easy ramp up. It was, as I mentioned, even the people in the station can do the can build in the devices, can debuild it, and there were some concerns at the beginning. And even customers complained about the smoking, but with the TÜV report, they immediately pay. Yeah? There were not much discussions about it. Yeah? There was also a high interest from our licensees, from our franchisees. 2 months ago, I was on a meeting with 60 of our franchisees, licensees, and they, yeah, we always have the big issue, have the problems to charge the customers, and don't have really a proof and so on. But now you have it, yeah. And even from a customer perspective, we also have fleet customers. And fleet customers, hey, that's a cool device. How do we get it? Yeah, and because I can track my own drivers. Yeah, and on the compound, it was also with the smoking, but also with the harsh driving detection. How does our drivers behave at the compounds, and what does it mean if they do a damage on the compounds? Yeah. What we also see is better customer behavior. Yeah, that's quite important. And what helps also, and I believe that's important too, you have stronger arguments at the counter, meaning you support your people at the counter, your counter agents, and it's more data-driven. You have reports where you can clearly say, hey, come on, here is a proof, you smoke, there is a damage, and we really transfer it. And one other thing I would like to mention, we're expecting more troubles, more complaints, directly to me, to our board and so on, but that was so rare that is not worth to mention, honestly spoken. So nothing to discuss about it, and it really works, I have to say. Yeah.
So that's perfect feedback, of course.
Yeah.
So what's next, Boris, after this experience? What's next between Bosch and Starcar?
Yeah, what's next? I'm also curious to explore what's next. Of course, we want to have a first summary after the 6 months. We right now equipped 500 cars in our fleet, different cars from small cars up to vans, and see how it works, have a look at the business mix. Also take a look which models, which brands are affected, if you're going for short term, if you're going for long term. Right now we see more, we prefer more short term rentals, yeah, honestly spoken. That's a thing, and then maybe more devices and really dedicated to the cars who works with this device, yeah. Then next step, and I'm curious for this one, we are going to work with van gates, meaning at the airports, meaning to detect the damages directly at the airports, and combine it with the Bosch devices, with the rideshare results. We are also looking for the missing parts status at the cars. That's for the NFCs. That could be an interesting one. Also the battery status of the cars, and also the next steps, which we are talking yesterday together, was a cooperation, further cooperation with Bosch Car Services.
Okay, that was a lot to memorize. So in a nutshell.
Yeah. We have 18 smoking events per vehicle, as mentioned before. That makes the business case, honestly spoken. Yeah, even therefore, the device and all the services are paid only with smoking. We have the big impact of the cross-border fees. Not everyone who claims, who wants to cross the border did it. We have a lot of risk clustering. You don't immediately get the numbers, but I believe that's quite important. As mentioned before, we identify the drivers and the customers we don't want to have, yeah? Because there are a lot of drivers driving too fast, braking, acceleration, and so on. We have good numbers of damages, which helps our colleagues to claim the damages, and of course we see the mileage, which helps us a lot with the service and inspection and so on, to be faster and more accurate with the numbers and the fleet steering. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Boris. So just as a quick wrap up, we as Bosch, we believe strongly that the future of fleet management is turning complexity into clarity and turning data into decisive action. And with our vehicle knowledge, with our strong partnerships that we have, and the intelligent solutions, we want to help you as fleet managers to stay ahead, to stay efficient, and to create profitability. And we are focused now on ride care, but of course you saw the 5 clusters, so there's a lot more that we have in our portfolio. So I warmly invite you to join our booth, number 19, where Boris and I will be at least for the next hour, and be very happy to have further discussions with you and to discuss about our solutions and your pains. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening.